Marijuana, pot, weed, cannabis. If used for medical purposes legally in your state, no longer will federal prosecutors come after you and make a case. This week, the U.S. Attorney General announced a mellowed approach to medical marijuana sales and use in some states. Is this a good idea? What's next? Might this lead to the decriminalization of street drugs? And where is the medical marijuana coming from anyway? Lots of questions we'll uncover this hour. So right now, 13 states allow the use of medical marijuana to help people with a variety of ailments, from glaucoma to tumors. We've got an incredible panel of guests right now. Let me introduce you to all of them. Dr. Eric Voth, internist, chairman of the Institute on Global Drug Policy. Dr. Alan Frankel of Greenbridge Medical, who writes recommendations for medical marijuana patients. Deborah Pottle, a medical marijuana user and former correctional officer. Brad Senesac, the spokesman for Berkeley Area Dispensary, which has been in business for almost 10 years now. And Ron Brooks, with 35 years of law enforcement experience in California. He's the president of the National Narcotics Officers Association's Coalition, and State Representative Kenny Yuko of Ohio, who wants to legalize medical marijuana in his state. We'll talk to all of our panelists in a moment. But first, California is one of those states where medical marijuana is okay. It's legal. In LA County alone, there are 600 dispensaries, medical marijuana stores, where patients like Ron Cabrera with chronic back pain go for their prescriptions. He shows us how it's done in this iReport.
I'm 30 years old. I'm a political science graduate from UCLA. After graduating from UCLA, I joined the U.S. Army. And in infantry school, I fractured my lower vertebrae. When I returned home, I was given a recommendation by a doctor to smoke cannabis, which greatly relieved my pain and helped me resume my normal daily activities. We're on our way to the cannabis club. It's called the Sunset Shop. It's in West Hollywood. It's one of the first cannabis clubs in California, one of the most prominent. I'm about to go into the cannabis club, and I feel pretty safe, because it's been pretty much legalized for people who have medical recommendations. As you can see, there's a police officer right there. He knows that there's a cannabis club right around the corner. He doesn't appear to be sweating me. He doesn't appear to be looking at me nefariously or anything, so we're gonna go inside now.
Okay, and we're going to go back to that iReport later on in the hour so you can see exactly what happens when Mr. Cabrera goes inside the dispensary, and what do you find once you go in there anyway. So let's begin our dialogue. What's so wrong with medical marijuana? He says he felt perfectly safe being out on the street, talking about getting ready to go into a dispensary. Dr. Eric Voth is back with us now. He's the chairman of the Institute of Global Drug Policy. So what's the matter with this? He was very relaxed and comfortable, and he says, you know what? He uses this medical marijuana to relieve his back pain.
Well, you know, the unfortunate problem is here that there may very well be some perceived effects of marijuana, but it's very difficult to tease those out from the intoxicating effects of marijuana. And the real overarching issue is here that these dispensaries and the whole medical excuse movement is really making an end run on the FDA. Thus, they're making an end run on consumer protection. They're really taking this whole process for smoking dope for some medicinal applications and turning it into medicine by popular vote.
So let's break that down a little bit further. No FDA regulation on the marijuana that is being prescribed or doled out to people who have the okay from their doctors to use it for medical purposes?
Not at all, and that's really the scary part of this thing. People don't have any idea if they're getting 2% THC or 15% THC or 20% THC.
So it means there's no standard, you're saying, at all these dispensaries. They can, well, A, where are they getting a lot of the marijuana from? We can address that a little bit later on the hour. But the marijuana that they do get, that they are able to sell, you're saying the potency can vary, and that too is dangerous from a medical treatment point of view, in your view?
Well, sure. And in our country, we try very rigorously to standardize medications. We have a very rigorous process. We know when you get a dose of medicine that you get a specific dose of medicine. In the cannabis clubs, in the dispensaries, they're essentially functioning like pharmacies, but without any kind of regulation. And so we don't know about not only the percentage of THC, but contaminants and things like that.
So the third thing I heard you say that you were concerned about, you didn't like about it, is that this is medicine by popular demand, meaning if people feel like this is making them feel good and by popular vote, because all of these states that have them, the 13 states, people most likely went to their polls to vote in favor of it on a ballot initiative, and you're saying there's something wrong with that picture.
Absolutely, and the FDA has steadfastly taken a position that they do not support that kind of process for getting medicine out in the hands of people, because there's really no standardized scientific medical research process to do that.
Okay, our Josh Leves has been listening in on a lot of people who have sent in their comments and their questions via blog, Facebook, you name it. And what was interesting, Dr. Voth, is that, Josh and I talked, the majority of the people who are weighing in actually like the idea of medical marijuana being made available. What else are they saying, Josh?
Yeah, Fred, I'll tell you, and I'll tell all our viewers throughout this hour, we're following your blog posts, we're following you on Twitter and Facebook. And Mr. Voth, we have a bunch of questions for you. We're going to be asking you throughout this hour. Fred's absolutely right. By far, the people writing us support medical marijuana. A lot of them saying it should go beyond that, legalizing marijuana in general. They have a lot of arguments on that side. We are hearing a little bit on the opposite side, too. Let me show up on the graphic where you'll be able to weigh in throughout the hour. You have us at Facebook and at Twitter and CNN.com/Josh or /Frederica. It'll get you to the same place. Go ahead, send us your thoughts and your questions. And Mr. Voth, we're going to be talking to you this hour, sharing some of the questions from our viewers and seeing what you say about those. Fred?
All right, very good, Josh. Dr. Voth, thanks so much. Of course, there are a lot of variety of concerns and questions about marijuana. And guess what? Medical marijuana, it's not just dispensed in the smoke form, but there are a variety of ways in which people can ingest or benefit from the THC in this marijuana. You're looking at a case right there in a dispensary. Aren't you curious to know what else are you going to find when you go to a dispensary? Well, apparently you can find Rice Krispie treats, you can find brownies, even butter, all laced with marijuana.